You dog.
So hey everybody, I'm back. Today I wanted to do a really cool video. I had this idea at night last night and I was thinking about it and I just thought it would make a good video. So I'm going to be talking about the origin of the dog. I was actually really interested in figuring out, how long ago humans started interacting with dogs and just kind of like the history of that relationship. So it is really cool to figure out when this relationship between dogs and people started. So the first thing that we can really understand about dogs and their evolution with humans is that it actually started before we started using a lot of agriculture. So before cultivation kind of started happening with people, before they started growing crops and doing all of that kind of stuff, we actually already had a relationship with dogs. So dogs kind of came into our lives at the hunter-gatherer stage, so it was way before we started growing crops. The first kind of undisputed instance of finding dog remains with humans happened about 14,700 years ago. And that's the solid undisputed one. There's a ton of ones going back to 30,000 years that are somewhat disputed on whether or not they were dogs or wolves. So this undisputed one was found with a pair of humans, one man that was 50 years old and a woman that was around 20 to 25 years old. And the dog was buried with them. So it's actually a really cool thing to think about, humans being buried with their dogs. We've had such a close relationship with dogs for such a long period of time, and they were important enough for humans to actually bury themselves with their animals. So like I said before, we actually don't know the exact time that dogs became domesticated, but one of the greatest ways to figure out is we can actually trace back genetics and DNA to find out where kind of population surges happened. So the theory is that when dogs came into, a relationship, a close relationship with people, their population numbers increased dramatically because it was a favorable relationship. The dogs got food, they helped the humans out, and theoretically, their population numbers should have surged at that time. So there's actually an indication that the dog populations increased at around 23,500 years ago. So that may be kind of the instance where dogs were firmly established within a human-dog kind of relationship. Closest thing today that's related to dogs is the gray wolf. So we can really see how the selective pressures that humans have put on dogs and used to kind of do selective breeding have shaped dogs into all of these wonderful breeds that we have today. We can see humans using dogs very early, and one of the first indications of that is cave paintings. So we have some cave paintings, I believe the oldest dates back to 7,000 to 8,000 years ago, of dogs working with humans and hunting. So that's the first kind of instance where we see humans selectively breeding dogs to have a purpose, to actually help them do something specifically. One of the coolest things about the dog domestication scenario is that we can see changes in genes. One of the genes that's actually associated with a difference between wolves and dogs is a gene called WBSCR17. So we're not actually sure what this does in dogs, but the cool thing is that as we've mapped the human genome, we can figure out what genes do in people, and we actually have knowledge of what that gene does in people. And it actually causes a syndrome that increases gregariousness. So basically it makes someone more outgoing, more social, more lovable. And that's really interesting because if it does exactly the same thing in dogs, that means that a gene changed between wolves and dogs to make dogs more likable, social, and more outgoing. And that probably actually pushed us to have a stronger relationship with dogs. So I don't know about you guys, but I think that that's such a cool thing. You look at dogs nowadays, all of the breeds that we have, we've got our herders like Border Collies and Australian Shepherds that help us with livestock. We've got different breeds that were bred for very specific things, stuff like hunting badgers and ratting, like the Jack Russell Terrier or the Dachshund. We have breeds that are retrievers, like the Golden Retriever and the Poodle, that helped us with hunting. And we also have our protectors and our warrior dogs that were bred to basically help us with war scenarios or protection, like the Doberman, for example, or the Mastiff. And you just look at all of these different relationships that we've created with animals and with specifically dogs. And it's so cool to figure out how far back that goes. So I hope you guys found this just as cool as I did. Definitely when you're hugging your dogs at night, just think about the fact that that is a 14,700 year relationship or even longer, and that we get to experience that just as much as people thousands and thousands of years ago did. So I hope that you guys learned one or two new things today, and I will see you guys very soon in another video. Take care. Are we going to keep on working together? I love you! You're my puppy. Mwah. Oh, she's tired.